So I am Marilyn Weston, and you're definitely getting it straight from a woman's perspective here on Zoomer Radio. And as usual, we're fortunate to have Darren Farwell of Scotia Wealth Management with us because he's our guru for investing for retirement tax efficiently. So good morning, Darren.
Good morning, Marilyn.
And what do you have for us today?
Well, Marilyn, I do have, as we like to have, a happy story for the day.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. It's nice to start the year that way.
Great. But before I get started today, I have to, I wish to preface with a bit of an apology. Because when I think about week after week, I'm sorry that, in fact, many of my happy stories come to life from a not-so-happy beginning. And as we've talked many times from a woman's perspective, the truth of that wise old saying, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. I mean, we all know stuff happens, and you remember that the simple truth was entertainingly highlighted in that award-winning movie with Tom Hanks called Forrest Gump.
Mm-hmm. Life's a box of chocolates.
Yes, there is happiness in overcoming, and my story again today involves that. This is someone's story. Maybe it's someone like you. But our story starts in kind of an idyllic setting because once again this year over New Year's, I had the pleasure of spending the week with my kids and their plus ones in a wonderfully hot, blue sky, beachy resort. And, it certainly was amazing, but that memory is fading in the face of the cold, wet, gray days we get here in Toronto. Don't get me wrong, I love our great city, but, this time of year can be a bit challenging. During our trip, the kid made friends with some other kids, as usually happens, and as a result, I got speaking to their parents. Well, actually, not parents. They were there with their mother, Karen. Until about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, Karen was married. Now she's not. That's the stuff happens. That's the not-so-happy story that gets our happy story started. But Karen was and is resolved to continue to be the supportive and loving mother that she's always been, and that means making sure she looks after herself first. Karen's relationship with her ex is not acrimonious. She says that she feels she was fairly treated financially as a result of their financial statement, perhaps not perfectly, but fairly. In practical terms, what that meant to her is that all of a sudden she has a lot of money to invest to support her ongoing lifestyle and child support needs. But in the past, she would have done that kind of investing with her ex as a partner, not all alone. Now, Marilyn, it's not a question of whether Karen can do it herself. She clearly has the smarts and even the background to make these kind of investment decisions herself. That's really not a question. She just doesn't want to. Karen likes the idea of working with someone, ideally a professional who can keep an eye on her big picture with her so that she can feel confident she's on track with her long-term plans for independence and being able to do those things that matter most to her, like, as she said, being there for her children as they grow and have their own families, to travel, taking courses, staying healthy, and working as she chooses. But here's the rub. She went to a number of meetings with financial people that referred to her from her bank, from her lawyer, and a few she found herself online. And in Karen's words, these meetings were a disaster.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Well, and I hear this many times from people who take the trouble to go on several different interviews only to find that one after another didn't work out nearly as well as they'd hoped. In fact, one of the referrals from the bank, by the way, not the Bank of Nova Scotia, and as an FYI, Karen is actually from Saskatchewan, not from Ontario, but one of her bank people referred a bank investment specialist who walked into the meeting room. They hadn't met yet. They walked into the meeting room where she was seated, and his first question was, "Will your husband be joining us?"
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, not a good start.
No.
Overall, she said that the people she met simply used too much jargon, spent too much time talking about details of the investments, and just came across as often aggressive and even arrogant. And this wasn't, Marilyn, simply because she was meeting male advisors. In fact, Karen had met 2 female advisors as part of her process. One, again, was referred through her bank, but Karen just found that the person that was referred to was really simply too junior for Karen's comfort. The other was referred, a woman that she had met or called as a result of some searching on the internet. She was within an independent investment firm, but when Karen met her, she found she was just too investment focused and not enough about long-term integrated personal and corporate planning. Because you see, Karen does have and manage her own small business, so corporate planning is also very important. Now, at this point, you might already be asking, Darren, we're kind of running out of time. Where's the happy story part?
Yes, the ending.
Well, when I got back to the office, I reached out to a colleague of mine in Saskatoon. Now, we've known each other for years through various conferences and calls and back and forth. And like me and my team, I know that advisor, Sandra, she speaks in plain, clear language that just makes communication easier. As well, like my team, Sandra's value add on top of investing, that's just getting you into the game. On top of that, they really focus on the big picture. Long-term, integrated planning, integrated between personal and business, and a process that gives control to Karen without Karen having to look after all the details herself. So the happy story is that the two of them have met for the first time. They met earlier this week, and that meeting seems to have gone very well, and apparently they're scheduled to meet again quite soon.
Well, it makes me think of the matchmaker. You did a good match.
It seems to have been a good match, but and it was made a little bit easier just by being able to understand from over the years what some of these women in Karen's situation are looking for, and then therefore the kind of person that might be able to help them best.
Well, you're a certified divorce financial analyst, CDFA, so you've been there and done that so many times, I'm sure, over the years that you've been in your practice. And you always speak in, I would call them bread and butter words as opposed to jargon. So I understand your appreciation and recommendation to someone who would be able to relate to Karen. So thanks for sharing this story. And yes, it's always nice to end up at the top of the hill with the happiness there as opposed. That's the whole purpose of the happy story.
Yes.
And if someone is sitting there wanting to look at their finances and perhaps are having difficulties and want to sort things out, are you going to be working today?
Yes, I am. So, anyone who has a story like Karen's or feels like they're in a situation like Karen where they could use some help, then I'm going back to the office right after our show this morning, and I'd be glad to speak to anybody who would like to call.
So 416-863-7501. You don't have to be reactive and you don't have to be sitting there worrying. You don't know what you don't know, and you can be proactive with one phone call because Darren Farwell will be there for you. Not big fancy language, good meat and potatoes information, and you can decide what's best for you, and it doesn't hurt to have a little help from someone who's been there and done that since 1986. So Darren Farwell, 416-863-7501. Still throwing in coffee and parking?
Always throwing in coffee and parking. Love to have people visit me downtown, so if you want to come downtown to Scotia Plaza and visit me here, we do provide free parking and glad to supply the coffee.
Thank you. So I look forward to hearing another happy story next week, and have a great weekend, Darren.
Thank you, Marilyn.